Welcome back to TPS. The NFL may be in the golden era from a business and financial standpoint, but there are still plenty of problems that must be addressed. By modernizing some of its rules, its player conduct policy, and overall safety, the league could truly reach even greater heights. Here's a look at the NFL's 8 biggest problems.
At TPS, we post videos every single day, so don't forget to click the subscribe button to subscribe. Then click the notification bell to be notified when we post a new video.
Number 8, kickers eliminate the extra point. Gone are the days where the majority of the NFL teams had a kicker that was simply good enough to make most of the clutch field goals, and the days where kicks from 35 to 45 yards were practically gimmies too. The NFL has endured quite the kicking problem over the past 3 or so years. It's unbelievable how many games have ended with a kicker missing a field goal under 45 yards. Heck, the 33-yard extra points aren't gimmies anymore either. At some point, the NFL, its players, and the fans will get sick of all these games coming down to short field goals and extra point misses. The NFL is always looking to enhance overall game quality. The extra points are boring, and there's just no way that they should determine the outcome of the games. So, the NFL should change its rulebook by eliminating the extra point altogether while taking a page out of the XFL's playbook. The XFL doesn't have extra points. Following a touchdown, the team can go for 1 point from the 2-yard line, 2 points from the 3, or a 3-point conversion from the 10. If the NFL did that, coaches would always have to just decide how many points they want to go for, and the games will be determined by the most craftiest of play calls. There have been talks about the NFL implementing a rule change that would allow teams to attempt a 4th and 15 conversion instead of an onside kick. That would be cool and all, but the league should prioritize scrapping the extra point before scrapping the onside kick. And did we mention that the teams wouldn't lose so many games because their kicker can't make the routine field goals anymore? Number 7, game length, fewer commercials, and short game clock. Including commercials, NFL games usually last around 3 hours, sometimes a little longer. But for some fans, 3 hours is still far too long, especially when you're trying to follow all these other games at once. And how annoying is it when an early afternoon contest is still going just as the late afternoon slate of games begins? NHL games consistently finish under 3 hours. NBA games are closer to the 2-hour or 2.5-hour range. Baseball has implemented a handful of rule changes in order to speed up a game that's, well, very, very slow. It's time for the NFL to get on board with the pace of play by cutting back on the total game length. They can easily cut down to a game length of 2 hours and 30 to 40 minutes. For starters, how nice would it be if they cut back significantly on the commercials? How tiring is it when there's a break anytime a team scores a touchdown? Then the officials review it for 5 minutes. Another commercial. Then they kick an extra point commercial. Then they kick the ball back to the other team commercial. 3 and out. Punt commercial. On and on it goes to the point where it's hard to remain excited about a game that is interrupted time and time again by the same 5 ads we've seen hundreds of times. Like, wouldn't it be nice if the NFL followed the NHL by designating only 3 commercial breaks per game? Also, changing up the clock would go a long way in fixing the length of games. Do teams really need 40 seconds to huddle and call a play? What are those earpieces and playbooks in the quarterback's armband for again? The XFL carries a 25-second play clock, which starts after the ball is spotted. The XFL rulebook states that since it takes about 7 seconds to spot the ball, the average game clock per play is 32 seconds. The NFL has to start making its on-field product and game length more exciting. Number 6, catch rule, loosen the definition of a catch. In 2018, the NFL agreed upon simplifying the catch rule. That said, it's still hard to simply understand what the definition of a catch is, and the only solution may be for the league to simply loosen the definition of a catch. For example, Austin Hooper's game-winning touchdown against the San Francisco 49ers in Week 15 of the 2019 season was overturned here. So much for the need enough evidence to overturn rule. Now Julio Jones wound up scoring the game-winning touchdown anyway after Hooper's catch was overturned. And when the Kansas City Chiefs met the Detroit Lions in Week 4 of 2019, KC got a big break when Kenny Galladay's touchdown reception was overturned upon further review.
Stafford looking the other way, sidearm sling to the end zone.
Probably not.
And Dean, they called a touchdown initially, so is it going to be enough to
Like we said, at this point, they're just going to have to try to loosen the catch rule rather than try to make it more simple. The whole completing the process of a catch is just too subjective. Who cares if a guy slightly bobbles it while he's falling out of bounds? The league just has to say, all right, we give up and we don't have any answers, and simply turn the process of a catch over to a judgment call. Number 5, inconsistent pass interference calls/challenges. Define what a PI is. While we suggest that the NFL loosen its definition of a catch while making it more of a judgment call, the league needs to do the opposite with pass interference. The whole football world was thrilled when the NFL passed a rule in 2019 that allowed teams to challenge PI and missed PI calls. The league had no choice after the whole NOLA no-call debacle. But somehow and some way, the pass interference challenge system caused even more outrage and controversy in 2019. The new rule wasn't a solution, rather it caused even bigger headaches. For example, the officials actually reviewed this play to see if there was pass interference. Somehow they upheld the call and said there was no PI on the play. And the officials decided this play wasn't pass interference following a challenge from Green Bay Packers head coach Matt LaFleur.
Matt LaFleur, fans are begging him to throw the challenge flag and he slams it down.
So no, the NFL should not allow officials to make judgment calls on pass interference based on whether they feel it was significant enough to overturn. They simply have to strictly define PI, then apply the definition on pass interference on reviews. Number 4, Roger Goodell's power, limit the commissioner's power. The NFL commissioner is not a popular man among players. Even classy and humble players like Aaron Rodgers and Drew Brees have voiced frustration with the commissioner and how much power he has. The whole Deflategate debacle was a prime example as to how Goodell has way more power than he deserves. Rodgers put the blame on the players for this, citing the pressure to agree upon a new CBA in 2011. Rodgers said there shouldn't be somebody who was a judge, jury, and executioner. And after the New Orleans Saints were robbed against the Los Angeles Rams in the NFC Championship game, Brees said it was Goodell's responsibility to address the issue while ripping him for remaining silent about the controversial game. Goodell's handling of the off-the-field incidents, see Ray Rice for example, is also nothing short of embarrassing. There needs to be a cutback on his power to deal with scandals, controversy, and player policy. A guy should not receive a longer suspension for possibly deflating footballs compared to a guy who viciously assaults his fiancée. Number 3, officiating errors, sky judge. At the end of the day, NFL officials aren't robots. They're not going to get every call right. They'll make some bad ones and they'll miss some blatant ones. That is how it is. And that's not on the zebras, it's on the league. If the NFL wants to cut back entirely on officiating controversies, they need to introduce a sky judge. That is a guy in the booth who can quickly alert officials of a mistake they may have made, be it a bad call or a no call. Did they miss a blatant holding call? Did they incorrectly rule a guy out of bounds? Did they call offside when it should have been a false start penalty? Have a sky judge who can reverse the decision quickly. Before they folded, the AAF had a sky judge who could correct an officiating mistake. The XFL has a video official who can jump in and intervene on calls relating to player safety or overturn incorrect calls inside the final 5 minutes of the fourth quarter. Okay, NFL, when are you going to follow suit? Number 2, player conduct policy, time to modernize. How in the world should NFL players receive harsher suspensions for using marijuana and CBD than players who have committed horrible acts such as domestic violence and sexual assault? There are just too many flaws with the NFL player conduct policy. Goodell simply shouldn't decide how harsh a penalty should be. The league needs to have a more detailed outlook on it. MLB, for example, automatically suspends a player who's being investigated for domestic violence, sexual assault, and child abuse. Players simply don't get to play while the league investigates, and the suspensions are not minor. These suspensions can last anywhere from 15 to 100 games, but they're usually more than 40 games. Even WWE has a detailed and accurate wellness policy. A talent is automatically suspended if they're under investigation for such a crime. If convicted, WWE automatically terminates their contract. There should be a similar system that says a player will be suspended if they're being investigated, and set penalties should be issued for players who are convicted based on their crime. And they really need to find medium ground with the players when it comes to dealing with CBD and marijuana. Players need this to stay healthy and keep their bodies free of pain. Former NFLers Rob Gronkowski, Joe Montana, and Jake Plummer have gotten involved in the industry as they try to recover from the post-NFL life. Simply put, the NFL has to modernize its player conduct policy. And number 1, player safety, crack down on headshots, develop safer helmets. Yes, football is a punishing and physical sport. Players know that. They're aware of the risks. But if the league wants to stick around for the next 100 years, they'll have to especially prioritize limiting concussions and head-related injuries. Look at the amount of superstar players who have retired in their primes due to health concerns. Andrew Luck, Patrick Willis, Rob Gronkowski, Luke Kuechly, and the list goes on and on. And don't forget Chris Borland retired after his rookie season because he didn't want to risk his long-term health. Players shouldn't be hit with mere 15-yard penalties and possible fines or short suspensions for hammering a guy in the head. The league has to be far more vigilant on headshots, perhaps introducing automatic ejections and suspensions for such a violent hit. The CTE studies are downright terrifying. The NFL should work with the world's greatest scientists, technologists, and innovators to create safer helmets that can reduce concussions and other head-related injuries. The NFL really hasn't made player safety a priority. It can't hurt to at least try. We're in an era where Uber is running around with cars that don't have drivers. My sister got in one. She was scared to death. You can't tell us that with our technology, the world's greatest minds can't create a safer world for football players, can you? What other NFL problems need to be fixed, and how would you solve them? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and wash your hands. Please. 20 seconds. Sing a song while you do it. That's all it takes, man. We'll see you soon.